Mauricio Pochettino has dropped his first competitive roster for matches against Jamaica, CONCACAF Nations League quarterfinal, home and away 2-leg series against Jamaica, and I'm breaking it all down right here. So it is 8 a.m. on the West Coast. For some reason, U.S. Soccer decided to drop this roster at 7 a.m. on a Sunday on the West Coast. So thank you for that. Couldn't have delayed it by a few hours, but it is what it is. All right. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance for my voice. I am losing it. I was at a party last night with loud music. When there's loud music, you talk over it and you wear out your voice. So I apologize if I sound a little bit hoarse. Pochettino's roster is interesting. As always, about 90% of the roster picks itself. It becomes more interesting when you have injuries, and we have still quite a few, not as many as we had last camp, but obviously injuries to key players like Balogun and Reina continue to be a problem. Adams is not in this roster, apparently not fully fit. I'm just going to say a couple of things. I watched the Pochettino press conference. I like to do that before I make this video so that I can have context on certain decisions and see what he has to say about them. There are a lot of players on this roster that still baffle me. And when I say a lot, I mean, 3 or 4 out of 25. So it's not a huge amount, but there are players that I really don't understand. I also think that because we are playing Jamaica, it would have been good to have one of Maloney or Adams in this team. And they're not there. So this is going to be a shorter video, guys. We're just going to dive right into the roster. I'm going to give you my quick thoughts, as well as talk about who I would potentially start. As some of you have pointed out in the comments, Tim Weah is suspended for that first game. So we are still missing a lot of key players for that first game. And I have concerns about this Jamaica team because you don't know what you're going to get. This Jamaica can self-implode, as they often do. They can also be extremely dangerous and make our lives very difficult, especially away from home. So let's just dive into this roster. I'll keep it short and I'll just give you my quick thoughts. Goalkeepers. For some reason, we brought 4 goalkeepers. I don't really know why. I mean, remember, we can only actually register 23 players. So, 2 of the 25 will not be registered for the tournament itself. And I'm guessing Diego Cochin is going to be one of them. Look, I'm glad we're bringing him in because he's young and he's the future. Obviously, he's not ready to play yet, but get him in camp, get him comfortable with the team. It's a good way to also thwart off any potential advances from Spain to make him feel like he's already part of our roster, part of our national team, because he is the future and he is the heir apparent between the sticks. Everybody else is really just holding his position until he's ready. That being said, if we're building towards 2026, he probably won't be ready by 2026. So it is Matt Turner who's still the starter. Patrick Schulte is there. Zach Steffen is the confusing one. I don't know what Zach Steffen has done to deserve a call-up, right? The guy has been, frankly, terrible in MLS this season. Was terrible before that in Middlesbrough and was terrible before that for Manchester City. Basically, ever since he left the Columbus Crew, he just has not been good, and I don't really see why he deserves a call-up. I think if you're going to bring 4 keepers, at least bring somebody who has had a good season, like a Matt Freese, for example, over at New York. I think he is more deserving than Zach Steffen. But other than that, I'm glad Ethan Horvath is not here. Gabriel Slonina is not here. Neither of them deserves to be here. But to be honest, I don't think Zach Steffen should be here either. It's water under the bridge, though. Matt Turner is going to probably start both of those games with, hopefully, Schulte being the backup. Our goalkeeper situation sucks. We all know this, and I hope that in January camp we can perhaps take a look at a guy like Matt Freese or even call up, Chris Brady and Gavin Beavers to start looking at younger options. But like I said, Diego Cochin is the guy we're looking at long term. Fullbacks, yep, there are only 2. Marlon Fossey is not there, interestingly. Joe Scally and Anthony Robinson are there. No Christopher Lund and Marlon Fossey, who were in the last roster. Now, Marlon Fossey did get injured, but he's back now. Pochettino did talk about this in the press conference. He basically said that Tim Ream can play left back and Yunus Musa can play right back. So I would imagine that Ream and Musa are the fullback options. It is what it is. I don't really understand not bringing depth, at least to look at them. Like, why not give John Tolkien a look in camp, even if you're not planning to play him? Because I don't really want to see ever Tim Ream at left back. And also, Tim Ream is 37 years old and is in a deep decline. Like, shouldn't we at least bring another young left back or bring Marlon Fossey, see what he looks like in camp? I don't know. I don't really understand this decision to only bring 2 fullbacks by Pochettino. What if A-Rob gets injured in the opening fixture and now you're going to have to play 2 defensive fullbacks for the rest of the series? Like, I don't understand, because Joe Scally and Tim Ream at fullback means you're not going to have any wide attacking options. So what if you need goals? I don't know. To me, this is a not so bright decision from Pochettino. I'm just going to say it. We're supposed to also be building towards 2026, right? I guess maybe he's going to start Musa at right back. We'll see what he looks like. He might start him over Scally. Who knows? We're learning about Pochettino as time goes on. But personally, I would have brought some real fullbacks. Center backs now, and I don't see why we needed 5. Well, it was Mark McKenzie, Tim Ream, Miles Robinson, Austin Trusty, and Chris Richards. Miles Robinson shouldn't be here, guys. I'm sorry, especially after that horrendous Mexico game, as well as continuing to not look great in MLS. He gave up a really unnecessary goal to New York with a assisted header for Cincinnati. This guy is in his prime and is still at best an MLS center back. I don't know what he's doing there. Chris Richards is back. He was on the bench for Palace on the weekend, so I don't know if he's going to start or if he's ready to play. It's interesting that, like, Tyler Adams was not called in because he's not fit to play, even though he's made 3 appearances for Bournemouth, which, I mean, again, look, I understand to a degree why you wouldn't bring Tyler Adams. He's had long-term injury issues, and I get it. It just feels a little inconsistent to then bring Chris Richards, if you know what I mean. Austin Trusty is there. Cameron Carter-Vickers probably would have been there, but suffered an injury again for Celtic in their Champions League game. Is not there for them this weekend. Mark McKenzie and Tim Ream will probably start this game, I imagine, unless Poch surprises us all. Mark McKenzie, by the way, looking very good for Toulouse, who are pushing up the table in France. And a whole host of midfielders here, guys. Aiden Morris, Brendan Aronson, Johnny Cardoso, Tanner Tessman, Yunus Musa, Weston McKennie, Malik Tillman, and Gianluca Busio. That is a lot of midfielders. Look, Jamaica's going to be a physical game. If you're not going to bring Tyler Adams, bring another brawling midfielder like Leonard Maloney, even if you don't want to start him. I'm worried that we're going to see Brendan Aronson start at the 10 with maybe, Johnny and McKennie as the double pivot. This midfield is what it is, with Gio Reyna injured and Tyler Adams not brought in. It's short on creativity. There's a lot of 6s and 8s, but not a lot of pure 10s. In fact, there is not a single, I guess Malik Tillman is a pure 10, but Malik Tillman needs to start performing for the national team because he hasn't so far. Aiden Morris did not look good in the last camp. Brendan Aronson did not look good in the last camp. Yunus Musa did not look good in the last camp. Busio had mixed performances. Cardoso and Weston McKennie are back. They will probably start. What would I do against Jamaica? I would probably go Johnny Cardoso, Weston McKennie, and maybe Tanner Tessman. I just think Tanner Tessman will be able to handle the physicality, and then perhaps you could put Yunus Musa at right back instead of Joe Scally. Let's see who Pochettino throws out there, but no combination of these 3 has me feeling very excited about creativity, and I still think this is a little bit short defensively. But we'll see. We'll see what we look like against Jamaica, particularly away. Getting a win in Jamaica would be a big coup for Poch because Greg Berhalter never did that, and our away record continues to be quite poor. Wide forwards, we brought Christian Pulisic, Tim Weah, Alejandro Zendejas, and Cade Cowell. Haji Wright was going to be there, but then he got injured for Coventry right before camp, and so Cade Cowell replaces him. Don't see the point of that at all. I would have brought Cole Campbell as the 4th winger. I'm a little bit concerned about who's going to start on the wing for Poch because Tim Weah is banned for that first game from his Panama punch. So Pulisic and who? Zendejas. He played Yunus Musa on the right, so we'll see. what that looks like. Maybe he'll start Yunus Musa on the right wing. He didn't look good against Panama or Mexico on the right wing, so I would be skeptical of that. So let's see what Pochettino does. Pulisic is going to have to carry this team. And with multiple strikers injured, Ricardo Pepi and Brandon Vasquez are the two wide forwards. Pepi will get his chance, I think. Brandon Vasquez, look, he looked good for 20 minutes against Mexico. And considering the injuries, he's probably the right guy to bring in. He also scored a brace against Jamaica in the Gold Cup last year, if anybody remembers that, in 2023. So at least he's good in the air. We'll definitely give him that. But this is really Pepe's chance. Got another start for PSV Eindhoven on the weekend. Got a goal and a beautiful assist. And, you know, with Balogun injured, Pepe has a chance to make a strong case here. If it's not working, you can always bring Brandon Vasquez off the bench. And let's see what happens in this Jamaica game. But Pochettino needs to deliver. So that's my roster, guys. Like I said, I'm not super excited about this roster, but we have who we have. I would have made some changes around the fringes, but at the end of the day, Poch gets the result, gets us through to Jamaica. We go to the semifinal, and we have 4 months for a lot of the other guys to come back from injuries. Your Balogun, your Reina, your Serginho Dest, who I think we are still really missing. Chris Richards getting back to form. Henri Chase maybe becoming a dual nat. Speaking of dual nats, Pochettino talked about that briefly, and it's being a little bit misrepresented because I actually watched what he said, but on Twitter, some people are saying different things. They asked him about dual nat recruiting, and he said, I am talking to different dual nationals, but I want to see that they want to play for the U.S. I don't want to have to convince them to play for the U.S. And it's tough because there's a fine line between recruiting and begging. And some people are going to say, well, you have to recruit some dual nats if they have other options. That is true. You do have to recruit to a degree. You also have to be careful that the guys that you are recruiting actually want to play for us and that we're not just their last option, right? In Balogun's case, for example, things can be two things. We probably weren't his first option. He wanted to play for England. But when he plays for us, you can clearly see that he wants to be here and that he does want to play for us. So just because you are somebody's second option doesn't mean they don't necessarily want to play for you. And it's a fine line. And I don't know exactly what Pochettino meant by that. But generally, I agree with the sentiment that you do have to want to play for the U.S. Otherwise, you end up with a team full of guys who aren't that excited about playing for the U.S. and are kind of like, well, this is my path to a World Cup, so I guess I'll slog it out for these games and then hopefully get a World Cup call-up. It's an interesting discussion point that I think will continue to be hotly debated. But I think Poch is right. I think you do have to want people who really want to play for the shirt. So that's my thoughts on this roster, guys. I know it isn't the most exciting roster in the world. We'll see what we look like. Quick update. I will be on set shooting during the first Jamaica game. I've already told Tack. So I won't be able to do the post game and I won't be able to watch it live. So Tack will do the live watch along and then he will do the post game along with JD, who a lot of you love. I wish I could have been there, but unfortunately work is work, and I couldn't do much about it. But I'm excited for this away game, and I would really love for us to get that win in Jamaica. I think getting an away win in CONCACAF, which we haven't done since Grenada in early 2023, and that, you know, that's a minnow against one of the better teams in CONCACAF. I don't remember the last time we did it, because I don't consider Honduras one of the better teams in CONCACAF. Like the last time we beat a Mexico or a Jamaica or a Costa Rica or a Canada away from home feels like a long time. So can Poch come out and revive spirits a little bit with a win away from home? That would do a lot for his, cachet and to get people to trust him a little bit more, because I think there are already questions about some of the things he's doing. And I think he needs to deliver, and hopefully he does. All right, guys, have a great Sunday. Thanks for watching. Smash the like button before you go. Thank you to Bet Online for sponsoring this video. Don't forget the code BELIEVE where the game starts.